Hi there, and welcome to Coffee with Phil, where our goal is to help you live a life of purpose on purpose. Walking with God sounds easy, but how many of you know it never follows the script you prepared? In this podcast, Phil shares stories from his personal journey in the hopes that his experience, the good, the bad, and the ugly, will help you as you walk with God on your own journey. Grab your coffee and enjoy this practical and personal episode with your podcast host, Phil Strong.
Well, hello, dear listeners. Hello and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Coffee with Phil. And my name's Phil, of course, and I'm drinking coffee, of course, and you're here with me. Fantastic. Today, I want to jump straight into it. I want to jump into episode 75, and today I'm honouring 60 years married. Yes, 60 years married. I'll tell you what that means in a minute. 60 years ago, look at the calendar, 1964. 64. What was happening in 1964? Well, you don't need to worry because I did a Google search and I found the juice. Yes, I did. Look, you might not be 60. Maybe you weren't even aware of what was happening in 1964. But do you know this? A man called Classius K, who was a boxer, a black boxer, who was on an interesting journey. You could say he decides that Allah has told him to rename himself Muhammad Ali. And of course, the great Muhammad Ali, or the great boxer anyway, wasn't a great person, but he renamed himself from Classius Clay to Muhammad Ali. Look, there you go. Did you know the Olympics, the Summer Olympics, were held in Tokyo in 1964? Did you know that the Vietnam War was still going and men were dying? Well, according to Americans, their men were dying. Of course, a lot of the Viet Cong were dying also, but that's not something that gets reported. But here's a clincher. Did you know this? In America, the US President, Lyndon Johnson, he signs a bill called the Civil Rights Act 1964 and abolishes racial segregation. In 1964. That means up until 1964, it was law in the United States of America for blacks to be separated into separate toilets, separate buses, separate seats in the theatre because they had racial segregation. And the whites were, in their mind, superior. What a load of rubbish. Anyway, 1964 is when the United States government, President Lyndon Johnson, signed the law that abolished racial segregation. You might think that's quite archaic. I know I do. Two more things. 1964. Did you know that the Beatles were on world tour? The Beatles, you know the band, the Beatles? No, you don't know who they are? No, seriously? Do you know who the Beatles are? Like the greatest rock and roll band in all of history. Well, depends who you ask. Anyway, the Beatles toured America, which was like ho-hum for me, but did you know they toured New Zealand? They came here, the Beatles. John, Paul, Ringo, and the other guy. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I didn't care about that, but they were in New Zealand. And anyway, and the final thing, this is the whole point. Kathy's parents got married, 1964. Yeah, this week, 60 years ago, they were married. 60 years ago, her parents got married, and look, we're celebrating that, of course. I can't be with them, but the girls are all with them, and are celebrating 60 years married. Why? Because it's a big deal, man. You know, like, one, to be alive that long, but two, to be with the same person for 60 years. It's unheard of these days. And yes, they're old, and yes, they've had their ups and downs. But I really just want to pause and honour them. Hardy and Jill Anderson, Upper Hutt, still in Upper Hutt, lived in Upper Hutt their whole married lives. They've been married 60 years, and I don't care who you are, I don't care how rough it's been, that is worth celebrating. So golf clap, everyone. I mean that. It's awesome. So what I decided to do today is I don't want to Actually, let's just say this: no marriage is perfect. So I'm not going to talk about their marriage as much as what I thought I'd do today in honouring 60 years married is I could have called this How to Stay Married. And that might have been a better title. I'm not sure if that would have attracted you or not. But How to Stay Married. So I thought I would share with you, what have I got here? 7 tips to stay married. 7 tips to stay married. And there's a lot more. But I'm not trying to share my whole life with you today. I haven't got enough time for that. But I wanted to just rattle through some tips, and if you're not married, this is good advice. Always remember a friend of mine years ago. How many years ago? 20 plus years ago, we were hanging out. This guy, Aaron, he was in our church. We used to ride dirt bikes together. He'd come around home and help me. He was fastidious in the cleaning of bikes, which I appreciated. And always, my bike, when it went to his house, came back shining, so that you could almost see your reflection in some of the polished alloy. He was a monster on the bike, had a lot of fun. This guy helped him buy a house, and then he got married, went to his wedding, all good. I don't really see him these days, but at the time he was a truck driver. When I first met him, he was a truck driver, and he got saved in Wainuiamata a long time ago, and he would drive a truck and listen to the radio at night. And he would listen to Radio Rema, so shout out for New Zealand Christian Radio, and he would listen in the talkback or the wisdom section in the night time. And the dude, well, he was in his 30s and he was single, but he gave the best marriage advice. He gave the best marriage advice. I'm trying to remember who he was quoting a lot, but it was kind of funny. So, look, you can take marriage advice from anybody, but be careful who to... Dr. James Dobson. He always used to quote Dr. James Dobson. I just appreciate that. And so there's lots of tips for marriage. What's my point? Here's a couple. If you're not married, he wasn't married, and yet he knew a lot about healthy relationships. And so if you're not married, this might help you. If you are married, this might help you. And if you're also married, I'm sure you've got a lot of stories that you could add to the podcast in how to help people to stay married so that we might get to 60 years. Imagine that. Okay, let's get into them. Number 1, be best friends. This is like understated. I see a lot of my kids' friends living like this now, which is awesome. But I see a lot of people my age not living like this. It's like they're flatmates that live together because they have to live together, or it's convenient, or they can't be bothered fixing what's broken. And I think one of the things that Kathy and I have really tried to do, especially more and more and more because we're empty nesters and there's just the two of us, is just to be best friends, just to hang out. So I've written down here, hang out, have fun, laugh lots. And that's what friends do, and find ways to have fun together. I've also written down here that it's really good if you learn to laugh at each other. And that often is difficult in the early days because you're so insecure, or you're trying to fix your spouse to be the person you want them to be, and it takes you a while to learn to stop doing that. There's my confession. But you got to learn to laugh at each other. And Kathy and I do this all the time. And we don't do it in a mocking way, and we don't do it in a condemning way. But it's become fun as because we're just a couple of silly people trying to work out life. And we often sit there laughing at each other, go, man, we're so silly, or we're so old, or we're so funny, or so set in our ways. But we laugh at each other. And the thing about your best friends, and I think about this because we've got a couple of groups of couples that are really close to us. And look, you know the worst side of them, and you love them all the more. And so I think that's the thing about best friends is when they're that close to you, you're not expecting them to be perfect because you absolutely know they're not. And you've put aside the burden of expectation. And I would say, I've got a podcast on boundaries. Search the podcast directory. You'll find the one on boundaries. And I talk about the layers of friends that we all have. And so the further out they get from the center of your life, the more you kind of don't have the same level of grace because you're not as invested in the friendship. But when your friends are super close and you are super invested in who they are, then you've just got all the more grace. And that should be your spouse, your husband or your wife. You will know their worst side. You will see them at their very worst. You will see them on their lowest low and their highest high. You will know those personality traits or those idiosyncrasies that just used to drive you bonkers. And they probably still irritate you a little bit, but you just love them all the same. That's what it means to be best friends. Now, this segues to tip number 2, and I've said it this way: encourage your spouse to have close friends. Too many couples become so insular that they don't have friends outside of the marriage, and of course this is a tension because some go the other way and they're like, my best friend is not my spouse, but I've got a friend and that's what I need. And that's obviously very, very wrong. The two shall become one, the Bible says, and so there's your priority for your friendship circle. But what's my point? Let's just not be the negative, let's be the positive. Encourage other close friends. And the reason for this is you cannot be everything to your spouse. It's just absolutely impossible. If you're trying to meet every single need, if you're trying to be perfect in every moment, if you're trying to deliver the stereotypical romance movie kind of picture, then it's just not going to happen. You can't be everything. So here's what I would say. Make sure they have the right someone, the correct someone, the proper someone. Make sure they've got a friend that's really close to them. Encourage it. Make opportunities for it. Get some stuff going on so that you are supporting that friendship. And I've said it this way on purpose. Make sure it's the right someone, because if you're not able to meet a certain need in that relationship, they're going to go looking for it somewhere else. And what you don't want is them to take confidence and find needs met in a person of the opposite sex. Like if it's a male, you don't want their secretary or their work colleague who's a female to suddenly become a confidant and a friend that meets the emotional needs they've got, because that's going to go south real fast. So make sure you're part of that matchmaking, make sure you're aware of it, and make sure you encourage it so that you're kind of going along the journey. And you're actually saying, hey, look, maybe you just need to go and hang out with so-and-so. Maybe you guys should do this, or maybe you and your friends should go shopping, or maybe you and your sisters should go away for the weekend. Be a part of it, encourage it, give life to it, because your spouse will be a better person because of it, which means you will reap the benefits of them having other close friends around you. And the other thing we like to do is have couples that are close friends. So the 4 of us, or the 6 of us, will hang out and we'll just have heaps of fun, and you can go through the highs and lows. For us, it's really important that our close friends are on the same spiritual wavelength as us. So the same passionate commitment for life with Jesus, dedicated, committed to and supporting the local church, having standards and ethics and morals, commitment to their kids and the way they raise their kids, and the way that they would honour our kids also. I'm really grateful that there's several families around us where I have the privilege of speaking into their kids' lives because we're so close as families. And so that's the benefit of having other close friends, which is number 2 today. Let's jump into number 3. And what have I written here? Keep short accounts with the right timing. Okay, so the Bible says don't let the sun go down on your anger. How many couples have a fight or have a disagreement, have a bit of a blowout, and then go to bed without dealing with it? And that's obviously not the Bible is encouraging. It's encouraging you to sort it out before you go to bed. Well, I think what I've adapted here, not to disagree with the Bible, but just to talk about it, is keep short accounts, but with the right timing. So sometimes you just need to cool off. So in the beginning, Kathy and I grew up seeing confrontation in the house. Mum and Dad would have disagreements, and sometimes we got to see it because it was unavoidable. But Kathy, on the other hand, she said when she was growing up, she never ever saw her parents fight. They could sense the tension in the atmosphere, but if there was a disagreement, they knew because Dad just disappeared for a while. And so in the beginning for us, I would want to talk about things and she would want to avoid the confrontation. And that was a real pressure point for us. And so what I learned was you just need time to cool off, but you don't want to avoid dealing with the problem. So time will not fix it. talking about it will fix it. So what I had to learn to do was, we agreed we want to keep short accounts. That's true, but we also agreed that we had different needs in the moment. And so what I learned to do is, let's just say there was a disagreement about something, and maybe the wrong thing was said, or there was just frustration because it wasn't quite going well. And so what I learned to say is, hey, okay, let's just have some time out. Let's just have time to cool down. You need some space. I'm going to give you that space. That's what you need. I want to give it to you. But let's come together later and let's talk about it. And obviously Kathy would never initiate that because she just hates confrontation. But what it meant was later on I'd say, hey, come on, let's sit down, let's have a chat. She was honouring the fact that I'd given her space, which is what she needed. And she's choosing to honour the principle that we both want to honour in our marriage, that we would keep short accounts. And so we'd actually come together and find a way to talk about it. And the final thing that I've said on this is one of the things we've learned, and again the hard way, I've got the scars to prove that I've not done it right all my life, and I don't always do it right. But what I've written down here is, let's focus on why did that blow up, and not focus on being right. Because what's more important is not having the blowout rather than just proving. Because when people get into that argument state of this is right, that's wrong, then there's one winner and there's one loser. And marriage doesn't work like that. Marriage is about everybody winning, and both of you feeling loved and connected, which I'll talk about in a second. And so sometimes you just have to put aside the need to prove that you were right and focus on, hey, why did that blow up? What were you feeling? What did I say that made you feel that way? I need to apologize for my behavior and my words. I was feeling like this, and I was, this was the needs that I brought to the conversation that I just didn't feel were getting met. But that's why I was feeling that way. Now, maybe my needs are wrong. So let's just talk about us doing this together. And you'll find that if you keep short accounts, then you'll become better and better at minimizing the blowouts. You wonder why couples that have been together so long just don't have arguments. It's because they know each other so well, and they know themselves well because they've been through it before, and they learn to mitigate the problem before it becomes a blowout. Well, that's the mature people. I have seen couples that just are still insecure, immature, and fighting without resolution well into their 60s and 70s. And what a waste of a relationship that is. Okay, keep moving. Number four of my top tips to stay married, how to stay married, is the phrase that we learned from a guy called Danny Silk. Years ago, we did a communication relationship course through our church, or actually with friends first, and then we started teaching it through the church. Let me just quote it, so if you want to find it. His book is called Keep Your Love On, the teaching series. It's a bit old now, but it's called Defining the Relationship. And this is the phrase we learned. This is tip number 4, protect your connection. And so firstly, let's go to the situation we were talking about before, where things aren't going so well and there's tension, or there's an argument, or there's a breakdown. The language that we learned from this course, and we did the course together, so it was mutually accepted as safe language. That's important. We both knew what was going on. If one of us said to the other, hey, I'm not feeling connected to you right now, and I'd really like to be feeling connected. One of the things that I need to feel connected is just time together. Is that something that's okay? Now, you've got to be very, very careful. We did this the wrong way to start with, because you can twist that to become manipulative. You can say, I don't feel connected because you're being a dick. You need to stop being a dick, and then I'm going to be happy. Now, that's not going to work, because you're telling the other person what to do. Stop it. That's not healthy. One of the things that we learned from this program was to make it about me, what I need, because what you need is your current situation, and the other person's choices. Do they love you enough to meet that need? So, firstly, connection's broken. I don't feel connected right now. I'd really like to feel connected with you. Can we talk about how we could become more connected? So I remember one situation, Kathy and I, we're struggling with an area of our lives and we're just like, I don't feel connected. And we're like, you know what? We're going to avoid that topic and we're just going to hang out. Let's go to a movie, or let's go for a walk, or let's go outside and do some chores together, or do some chores inside together, just to spend time and serve one another. And then when the connection is reestablished and it feels safe to be together, then you can deal with the conversation that you might need to deal with. So you've got to be connected. Now, I purposely worded number 4 this way: protect your connection. So before you break the connection, why don't you try and protect the connection? So here's the thing. I know that Kathy likes to have dinner at a certain time. She likes to know where I'm at, and sometimes I get a little bit distracted with work, or I've got multiple demands going on me. So one of the things that I can do to protect the connection is I can let her know what I'm doing. I can say, hey, I've got someone to pop and see me at 5, or I'm just in the middle of something and I'm really focused. I'm going to be home at 6. Or I get held up in traffic. I just text her or call her and say, hey, I'm in traffic and this is a bomb right now, but I'm on my way and this is what I estimate my time to be. Look, it's such a simple example, but what I'm doing is I'm giving her what I know she needs so that I can protect the connection. Another example, all you husbands out there who like to fix things. I'm a self-confessed fixer. Well, I'm a slow learner, but I had to learn that sometimes Kathy didn't want me to fix something. She just wanted me to be with her and listen to it. Maybe what she actually wants in that moment is a hug and not a solution. So, what is it that I can do to protect the connection so that we can journey through together? All right. That was number 4. Let's get on with number 5. Number 5 is the mission is the other person to flourish. Your life mission together is that the other person flourishes. Friend, you just need to die to your needs and commit to enabling the other person to shine in all the glory that God has given them. I said to a guy once, I was walking with a guy, him and his wife were having real struggles, and there's just a bunch of history there, and I was privileged to be invited in. We set up what we called a circle of counsel, just to help navigate them to make decisions so that they didn't hurt each other. The whole point of that was that they were taking external advice, and I was part of it. So we get in there. And I said to this guy one day, I said, you know what your role is as the husband is to create a platform that enables your wife to succeed. As a husband, your role is to create a platform for your wife to succeed in what she's called to do. And I've got to say, that was probably 10 years ago, and now I see that family, and she is thriving. She's flourishing. She's got a lot more confidence because she's doing what she's good at doing. She's loving how she's doing it, and she's been enabled to do it because of the way her husband has served her in love. So here's a question to ask yourself: how can I serve their purpose? So wives at home are often better at doing this because, the man, it used to be traditional that the man had a career and the wife would do what she could to enable that career to flourish. Now that's fine, but it's very one-sided. So I often spend time flipping it over and talking about the opposite because it doesn't usually work. However, wives can also, dedicate their lives to raising kids and then become quite selfish. Hey, you've had your time, I'm having my time. It's not exclusive one or the other, it's mutual, it's both. So maybe you need to sit down, ask your spouse, husband, wife, how can I serve your purpose? And maybe the first step is helping them find what their purpose is. Okay, number 6. This is a cool one. When you want to hide, don't. When you want to hide, don't. It is a lie to think that you're punishing your spouse with the cold shoulder. You think you're teaching them a lesson. Well, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but you're not. Did you know the worst damage you're doing in that behavior is to yourself? Because what you're doing is you're reaffirming your immaturity and convincing yourself that it's best practice. And then what that means is you're going to keep doing it. And you're going to deny yourself the very thing you need, which is a connection with your spouse, and you think, I'll teach them a lesson. I'm just going to turn over. I'm just not going to talk to them. I'm going to go out for a while. And in that, you're denying yourself the love that is in your family. Now, it might not feel loving, but what my point is, when you want to hide, that's the very time you're not to hide. It's the time where you have to sit in the same space and you say, look, hey, I just need some quiet. I just need some time to process my thoughts, but I want you to know I'm not running away. I'm not punishing you. I'm processing. And what I need right now is that space. Would you be willing to give it to me? All right? That's way more healthy than the cold shoulder or the runaway. So if you're hiding, stop it. Finally, number 7, this is the most important one, and I left it to last on purpose. So if you've made it this far in the podcast, you get the best part of the podcast. Here's number 7. Life works best when God is woven into your relationship, not just tacked on. Too many people that call themselves Christians have got a marriage that excludes God. What an absolute disaster that idea is. Why? Because God called you to be together. You confessed your vows to one another before God and man, but God first. God is pleased that man should dwell with a helper, that woman should be served and loved by their husband in sacrificial death. Ephesians 5 says, as Christ also loved and died for the church, so the husband would do the same. It's God's plan. It's God's plan that you be together. And so why would you exclude him? He doesn't want to be excluded. He wants to be the center of it. So here's a couple of things as I finish. Practice personal devotion. Encourage your spouse to have personal devotion. Role model personal devotion. And be a part of the others. Now, I've got friends that do this early in the morning. They have their quiet time for half an hour, Bible reading, devotional reading, and personal prayer. And then they come together for coffee and they spend time talking about it. Now, that's awesome. They've done that for decades. And I just see beautiful fruit in that. If you're not going to do that, then I would encourage you still to talk about your journey. Kathy and I have got our private devotional time, but we often will go for a walk and talk about it, or there'll be something that we want to share. So make sure you have a personal devotion and make sure that it's not a secret, that you're willing to talk about it. You definitely need to pray about your needs, but you should definitely make room for worship, which is not just demanding of God. And you might want to catch the next episode because I'm going to talk a bit about that, and it's going to be a cracker. So make room for prayer, make room for worship, and lead by example. Look, here's the thing. What I've observed is in many, many households, the guys suck at personal devotion time. They're too busy. They get up and their first thought is work, or they get home at night and they're too tired, or they've got a lot of demands because they're running the kids around, or they're doing sports and they're volunteering for this and they're serving here. So here's a little thing I'm saying to guys and girls. Sometimes the head needs to be led. It is true. The Bible says in God's design is the male is the head of the household. It's just the way God created it. But that doesn't mean to say the head always knows what it's doing. So sometimes the head needs to be led. And if you understand that in your marriage and you're secure enough in your relationship to know sometimes your wife knows better than you and you need to acknowledge that, just remember this. This might save you. Sometimes the head needs to be led. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You might want to listen to this podcast again to catch all of those. How you can be best friends, encourage other friends, keep short accounts, protect your connection. The mission is the other one, to flourish. When you want to hide, don't hide. And life works best when God is woven into your relationship. Okay, here's the thing. I'm honoring Kathy's parents being married 60 years. Kudos, man. They have done it well. Not perfect, but they've done it well. And I want to finish with this encouragement. I want you to remember everybody's watching. So be a good role model. Most importantly, where do you think your kids are learning their future life habits? From you. What about your friends? What's your testimony? Is your marriage a testimony to a God-honoring, God-centered commitment of partnership together in tune with God? Well, make sure it is. Come on, let's have God-honoring marriages and let's do it well together in community. Oh, God bless you. I've had fun. I hope you did too. And I look forward to catching you in the next episode where we're going to talk about something really special. I look forward to seeing you there. Until then, enjoy a decent coffee today. Life's too short for bad coffee, friends. Get a decent coffee and come back and have coffee with Phil sometime soon. Until then, God bless you.